do it for consistency. So that's my add comment form. That's the form data of the form, and I'll set it to the raw data that they posted. And by raw, I mean it's not filtered like I'm doing down here with the information that they put into the form. And to include the feedback under that, using the session variable instead of doing the echo statements, I'll assign session of add comment of message, and I'll assign that to, that's the success message, thanks for the comment. And if there was an error, instead of doing an echo, I'll do a session of add comment, and I'll set errors is equal to the feedback that I want to leave them. And there could be more than one error, and you can get fancy and assign an error for each form field, but I'll just collect all the errors and just print them up at the top of the web page for now. If you have a lot of errors, you may want to key it additionally off of the form field name, which I won't do because it just makes this video longer. And also, in the situation where they did not leave a comment, I'll assign the errors to this. Did you mean to leave a comment? And I'll actually make it an indexed array too, because you can have more than one error on the form, even though you'll technically just get one with the way I have things set up here. On video.php, I'll just print out the contents of the session by doing a var underscore dump of the session superglobal. So I'll type in a handle of Joe, don't leave in a comment, publish, and we see the key with the form name in it, the form data, and the errors. Now, I'll first start working on populating the form back with the information that they entered in the case of an error. So I'll set a form data variable to the form data that I assigned in the session, and I'll need to check to see if that is actually set before I attempt to access it, because that would create an error, well, actually a notice in PHP. I'll also get the success message from it, if there was one. And assign that to message. And I would also need to check to see if it's set by using the isSet function. And finally, I'll initialize the message just to the empty string. And finally, I'll get the errors. And assign it to errors. Of course, checking to see if it is set. And I'll initialize it to an empty array. This is the form itself. It's easy to populate or fill in text and text area values because all you would need to do is just print out the value. With other types of HTML types, well, with other types of input form controls, they're more complicated, like date inputs or select boxes or radio boxes, and they're not easy to do as input text area and hidden fields. So for the value, I'll do an echo on form data of handle. Helpful if I use the echo keyword. The key handle that I'm accessing corresponds to this name attribute on the form. I'll also do the same for the comment. But there's no value because for text areas, the value is actually put in between the closing, well, the opening and closing text area tags. And technically, I need to make sure that these are set. I just changed the key to comment to match the name comment. To do this, I'll use a more compact form of an if statement called a tertiary if statement. Usually if statements are on multiple lines, but this packs it into one line. So I'll echo on, and I'll specify a condition to test, and I want to test to see if form data of handle is set. And if that statement is true, which you don't know if it is or not, so you put a question mark in there. And if it's true, it will return this value. And if it's false, I will return the empty string. It's called tertiary because there are three components involved: the expression, the value to return when it's true, and the value to return when it's false. And I will echo out that value that's returned from this tertiary if statement. I'll do the same for the comment. And return the empty string if it's not set. So I'll save it, type in a handle of Joe, click on the publish button, and Joe is retained on the form because it populated it in for the value of the handle form element. And one thing I've noticed is that it's also adding on to the errors because I'm not clearing out this when it comes back to the video.php page, because it says, did you mean to leave a comment 2 times? So to clear this out at the end of the form, I'll do a unset session of add comment. Try this again. And now it's displayed one time. That error message. So now let's print out the error message. And also the message as well. I'll print out the messages just above the add comment form section. And I'll add a PHP code block that checks to see if messages, well, if the message is non-empty. And if it's not empty, I'll print it out. I'll print out the message. I'll put this in some div tags with a class of message. And for the errors, I'll check to see if the errors are not empty. I'll do an echo, and there could be more than one error. So I want to do what's called an unordered list. And for each error, I want to put them into a list item, which is kind of like, you can think of it as a bullet point, and my error would go in here. I'll just use a for each and iterate over the errors as an error and print out each one. I would also need to check to see if errors is an array before iterating over them too. And I'll give it a class of errors. So I'll try publishing the form again. Did you mean to leave a comment? I meant an unordered list. That's a UL instead of a OL. An OL is an ordered list. A UL is an unordered list. There you go. Now it says, did you mean to leave a comment? It'd be helpful if I also just displayed errors. Yeah, I'll just do a class of errors and put the word errors after it. There. Let's try it again.